In this week's column, Duncan Garner writes an open letter to the Prime Minister after a call from a desperate father. And Duncan, look, just tell us about this call you had from Steve.
Yeah, so Steve rang last week, and it was harrowing, actually. It's about 10 minutes long, and he's got an 18-year-old son, and he's been trying to get him into some form of mental health care. He started smoking weed, marijuana at 14, now almost 18, and they can't find him any help. He has psychotic episodes. He gets violent. He wants to kill himself. He says he's going to. Smashes things, breaks things, then goes to sleep, smokes weed. It all happens again. So they've been everywhere, knocked on every door of every mental health service in the country. They can't get him to be seen. They told him once he does commit or tries to commit suicide, then come back to us. So they're asking for him to have a go and then come back, then they can give him a bed. I just think it's around the wrong way. That priority should scare New Zealand parents up and down the country, because I thought we'd change that approach.
Right, and this goes to something that we've actually just been writing about in NBR, about the desperate shortage of psychologists.
And there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these people short, and we need them to be in their work, because if they're in their work, then they can see people. Without them in their work, why isn't there urgency? Why aren't we bringing people in from overseas? Why aren't we appointing people into these roles? We've had so much change and chop and change in the health system, and yes, we're spending all this money, but it's on restructuring. It's not on actual services. And I think this is not just in the mental health; it's right across the board. I think you'll find that families are desperate. They're desperately seeking an answer.
And what would you like Jacinda Ardern to hear?
Well, I'd like her to be able to offer this family some kind of hope, because without hope, there's nothing left. And this family they've rung me because they're out of ideas. They've tried every door, so they're hoping that somehow that we can twist an arm up someone's back to do something. I want Jacinda Ardern to read it at the very least, and to give it to maybe her health minister, point it out and say, can we do something for this guy? Can we track him down? Because surely there must be someone amongst all these billions that are spent in healthcare and mental health to offer this guy a pathway for this guy to be looked after.
Yeah, because one of the things, we've talked about that we know is that there's this huge bottleneck in terms of the professional training to get psychologists to qualify, to get people to give them internships. So that's a central coordination kind of issue, isn't it?
It all comes back down to that. If there aren't the services, why? Well, the services are because it's been so sporadic across the different DHBs. So hopefully there is a more central hiring system now. But this will take years. The backlog, as you know, is so long that how do you provide the services when they're so broken? You have to start to train and appoint people. It could be years away before New Zealand families get what they actually need. And what's the damage in the meantime? What's the social cost? What's the life cost? 702 people took their own lives last year. That's twice the road toll.
I suppose we can't blame the Labor government per se, though, because these are issues that have been building for many years, aren't they?
Yeah, I wrote a piece in the NBR a number of weeks ago saying that both parties are to blame for the health service. I mean, this is not just in the making the last 5 years. This has been decades in the making of basically. Also, you think about the population increase in New Zealand compared to the funding increase. It hasn't kept up. We've brought all these people into New Zealand. We've increased the population rapidly in 15 years and haven't kept up. John Key had 2 or 3 zero budgets. The price is paid later for that, and we're starting to see it.
And how do you think the Ardern administration may pay for this come the next election? These kinds of issues that are just growing.
I think they'll get dealt to.
Yeah?
No, I think the phone's off the hook, and I think they'll get dealt to. I think people have made up their minds. MMP's a strange beast, though. It can even things up in funny sorts of ways. But I think that question from the Australian journalist who said, what's it like being more popular overseas than at home? And she said, my sole focus is at home. I don't think people feel like that at the moment. I think they feel like they've been let down. They had expectations and they haven't delivered. And the need has got so great. There's all this leftover COVID hangover, and the government, I don't think, is also telling the truth about it as well. Truth matters. I don't think we're getting an honest account.
Duncan Garner, thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.